Over the past 3 months, Baldur's Gate 3 has completely consumed my life, leading me to a sudden realization. Are 6 inches really enough? Have any other RPGs truly captivated me and brought me as much joy as Baldur's Gate 3 has? And I'm simultaneously sad, but also happy to announce that the list is quite short. But the one game that stood out the most was Dragon Age Origins. People often say that the people like me, who gush over Origins, just suffer from nostalgia. But I played Origins for the first time in 2019 and it still became one of my favorite games of all time. So those people are in fact, with all due respect of course, dumb. No game is perfect, but man does this game come close. Everything about it is just mwah. The story.
Just get it done.
The finishing moves. The dialogue options.
Such a tone.
The companions. The overall medieval fantasy-based setting with geopolitical issues resembling real-life issues like a history of slavery and racism and the relationship between regions and their subordinates and I lost my train of thought. Origins isn't just an amazing game, it managed to do some spectacular things on top of that. Not only did it manage to become the best PC game of the year, but also the best PC role-playing game of the year. That sounds a lot cooler than it was because the award got handed out by IGN. That would be like winning an award for being the smartest man alive, but it being handed out by Kim Kardashian. You see, BioWare writing is like skydiving. Every moment leading up to and including the climax is amazing, but then the longer it takes, the more you start to realize that the magic is gone and now you just can't wait for it to finally fucking end. Coming back to this game makes you realize how absolutely amazing some of the voice acting is.
You betrayed me!
But also how bad some of it can be.
Grab a whore and have a good time.
Nonetheless, many a CRPG has great dialogue, an amazing story, but absolute trash gameplay. Thankfully, Origins gameplay is amazing. Is great. Is alright? I really like it, at least. For an AI that was created in 2009, your companions are actually quite intuitive. If you put their tactics on defensive, they won't run into battle like morons, and then the only thing left for you to do is click and drag over 1 or 2 ranged characters to deal with the enemies that are far away. Or you can tell them to prioritize certain enemy types so that you can finish most of the fights with your actual main character, instead of constantly micromanaging everyone else. Like yeah, sure, rogues and two-handed warriors are still kinda brain dead, and unless you play them yourself, you might as well not add them to your party at all, but for such an old game, it was alright. The classes aren't the most fleshed out, so they can easily be summarized as follows. If you want to act out your power fantasy of bombarding people, play as a mage. If you want to stand on the sidelines throwing shit at people, or tickling their asses, play as a rogue. If you have absolutely no ability of thinking creatively, play as a warrior. While you are hacking and slashing and only using like 4 abilities on your hotbar, even though you have 57 things placed on it, you will make your way through a variety of captivating and breathtaking scenery, like Detroit the Rim, the Brazilian Forest, Rochelle Coal Mine, the Fade, and many, many more. Yeah, those were actually the 4 biggest ones, but it sounded cool to say many, many more. Writing a script is hard, okay? Speaking of being hard, it is quite hard to create captivating enemies for, well, any type of game. However, BioWare managed to do so flawlessly with the creation of the darkspawn.
You need to convince them. We've got to run. The darkspawn are coming. I saw them. You can feel it, can't you? They take the land, turn it black and sick. Oh, you can feel it inside. They'll come out of that forest and spread like caterpillars covering a tree. They'll swallow us whole.
Darkspawn are such an amazing enemy type. So amazing, as a matter of fact, they continue to use this idea of turn existing races into demons/aliens all the way into Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3. Was this ever confirmed? Of course, just look at all of this compelling evidence. Darkspawn are like the politically correct version of Nilfgaardians. I can only imagine how often the writers for the Witcher Netflix show had to cringe whenever they had to refer to the enemies as the Black Ones. BioWare took the liberty and advance to thankfully call these abominations Darkspawn instead of, I don't fucking know, Black Spawn or whatever. You will spend the majority of the game fighting these fuckfaces, so it's good to see that there's so much enemy variety, like the small Darkspawn, the medium Darkspawn, the big Darkspawn. Next to darkspawn, you will come across many other dangerous enemies that want to use your skull as an ashtray, from werewolves to bandits to skeletons and dragons to whatever the fuck this thing was. You will take these atrocities on with your loyal companions who, for whatever reason, absolutely despise your fucking guts just because you made a joke about, ironically, their origin or race. Toxic relationships already existed in 2009 as well, so whenever your brothers in arms or lover is thinking about leaving you, just shower them with gifts until they temporarily like you again. The Dragon Age books have hundreds of amazing and interesting characters, so the developers of Origins took advantage of this by adding the only boring ones to the actual game. Besides a few funky options here and there, the cast of Origins actually works really well. Many games try to make you relate to their characters or force sad backgrounds upon them in a limp-dick attempt to make you feel connected to them.
I just move shit with my freaking mind!
But in Origins it happens pretty naturally. Take Oghren for example, a well-respected warrior in Orzammar, but eventually turned into a laughingstock as his wife left him for another woman. When you start traveling with him, it's not uncommon for him to run into other people from his past who all regard him as a joke. And from time to time, if you manage to get close to him, the pain in his heart and eyes actually shines through. You can't help but feel for the man, as many injustices and cruel experiences have been forced upon him by fate. Then there's Stan.
Happiness is fragile.
Stan murdered 7 farmers because he lost a piece of metal. I like Stan. If you actually manage to grow close enough to some of your companions, you will be rewarded with romance scenes that undoubtedly made many 12-year-olds happy when this game was released. Now that I'm a weak attempt at a grown man though, this does absolutely nothing for me, except make me uncomfortable as fuck. I would have been a lot happier if they used the budget for these scenes for something like, I don't know, less horrifying facial animations. Don't worry though, as many of these 12-year-olds grew up to be complete degenerates, the modding community has spent blood, sweat and tears to turn these cringy cutscenes into full-blown porn scenes. Mostly sweat, though. And, well, also most likely a lot of tears. No blood. I hope. Speaking of degenerates, EA decided that the only way forward for such an amazing IP was to release a shoddy, non-finished, fucking train wreck of a sequel called Dragon Age 2. The game was received exceptionally badly, with now only the die-hard Dragon Age fans defending it and claiming that it was at least better than the sequel to that game, being Dragon Age Inquisition. Inquisition managed to win the Game of the Year awards over games like Shadow of Mordor and Dark Souls 2, making its victory feel like getting first place at the Paralympics. It's only worth mentioning because Origins still makes me feel all fuzzy inside, while Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition slowly but surely have just started pissing me off by now. The only game that comes close to this mixture of an amazing story, great characters and companions, and at least acceptable gameplay is Mass Effect, but as that's also a BioWare series, that kinda speaks for itself. Are there plenty of games with all of these features? Of course! These games have been starting to get more popular, with things like Baldur's Gate 3, Divinity Original Sin, Pathfinder and Pillars of Eternity, just to name a few, getting more and more popular. But still, none of them hit as hard as Dragon Age Origins did. Even if these games were technically better, they all released in the last couple of years, and you can tell that many of them still take inspiration from Origins. That, when this video will come out, was released already 14 years ago by now, which is another reason to appreciate it even more. And be depressed, because Dreadwolf is coming, the sequel to Inquisition, and man do the leaks not look good. Looking forward to it, you know. Maybe it will be sick, maybe it will be trash. We're just gonna have to see, find out.